I remember it's the day after. I get back from the honeymoon, 4 nights on Dungeness Beach in Kent. It had been unseasonably warm, especially for the coast. Now I'm home, I'm feeling the chill more. I find a wrapped parcel on the kitchen table. I question how, then remember Mark as a key, and yes, it was him who'd left a belated wedding gift. It's a camera. I remember a conversation we'd had about photography. We got lost, off the beaten track, and found ourselves taking ridiculous, polemical stances just to argue. I said that photos only capture a single perspective of a single moment, and so they're doomed in their quest for representation. All photos are abstract, inherently abstract, and those who make images should not be trying to capture reality as it happened, but the opposite. He said taking pictures, capturing reality was photography. Documentation. Preserving a record of events. That single perspective of a single moment distilled that moment to the intimate essence. That the best evidence of this was it's how everyday people make images. Family photos. Pretty places. Birds in the sky. I can only assume then that this is a put-on. I took a few test shots of the last of the wedding flowers. They'd started wilting. It becomes my new routine. I go out regularly, making pictures of the area. I'm interested in small towns, like this one, like mine, and how though they seem to have a similar look, they all have distinct personalities, and though how they all have distinct personalities, they all have the same energy. Resignation. And apathy in architecture. Aren't these nice? These are some of my favourites. Finding a harmony with the edges, the borders, making images of places without edges that extend, grow out beyond the frame. I don't know what I'm recording these images for. Posterity? Personal interest? A well-intentioned but powerless political comment? I keep clicking. And, gradually, I start to notice it. This overgrown mess. On every corner, on every road, through every gate and grate and railing, over walls, under drains, around signs, the plants and the grass and the little baby trees and the tendrils. For the most part, the state of the town's put to the council. The allocation of resources. The cuts to government funding. Nobody's cutting the grass anymore. On Monday, Mark tells me Craig and Emily have moved out. I'm confused, because they don't appear to have told anyone, which is odd. Because I thought we had a pretty good relationship. Now I'm getting letters and calls from the council meant for them, asking if I know where they are. One day I get a call from Jim's daughter, Lucy. She started at the council a year or two back, after being discharged from the Navy. We chat for a while, about what's been going on with us lately, and moan about the latest town closures. They're getting to be a regular thing. The closures and the moaning about them. Soon it will just be the charity shops and the cafes and the vape stores. Then she asks after Craig and Em, unofficially. So I take the opportunity to ask, unofficially, if they've any down-low information on the overgrowth. Doesn't seem normal. Not this much. They tell me that the offices have become a bureaucratic mess. Nobody can get any clear answers about what's going on because of whispered interest from a bunch of outside organisations. Forsyth Agri, the Robinson Institute, some of them government affiliated, some private contractors. Some, like something called Mighty Quinn Solutions, sound pretty fly-by-night, and presumably American. And possibly American. And probably American. It's not giving me any answers, but it's enough to tell me there's something going on, so I continue with the photos. Documenting. Posterity. Proof. I notice people watching as I do, leaning out their third-story window with a cigarette and a suspicious eye as they shove a camera into the shrubbery on their doorsteps. But nobody asks why. Already, nobody seems to care as much anymore. It's still growing. On Thursday I see there's been a couple of large areas taped off. One of the parks, the odd social club. That could be down to disrepair. I'm quite sure it is. On Saturday I see a dead frog. On Tuesday I wander into one of the more dense areas of overgrowth. After passing through a wooded area I emerge into a lagoon right by a housing estate. The wind moves through here but not much else. I notice I'm not alone in the lagoon. There's a man carrying a satchel case. Despite his appearance, there's something officious about him, so I wave and head over. He doesn't really acknowledge my presence, but then he doesn't object to it. He puts the case down in the grass and, opening it, pulls out an old bowlegs. Finally he speaks. Who am I? I briefly panic, then remember what Lucy said and manage to mumble something about the Robinson Institute. He nods. The man gives little away, but gives away a little. That he's a research scout, clearly not from the Rob Inn, that something is going on, which is clear from the man's presence, and that digital technology is being affected somehow, which explains the bowlegs. We navigate from the lagoon back into the wood, following the Mobeck. He studies the detritus along the water, but that was here long before the overgrowth. I don't correct him. We stay with him for a while longer, till we pass through the wood and out on through the park, all the way to the town centre, which is odd because there's no overgrowth in the centre. He makes notes in his book throughout, and though we don't speak again, it's a pleasant silence, like old friends. I realise I haven't seen anyone in a few days. This has taken up a lot of my time, and I vow to stop. I'm walking home from work, which I've remembered to go to this week, when I see it. Behind the industrial park, an island of takeaways, a brown tower. I nearly scream. I don't know why. It's just a large building, but I've never seen it before. I get home and look through my photos. There must be some of the tower. You can see it from my bedroom window, through a gap in the overgrowth. Finally I find some. There it is. And yet, I'm held by the idea that it wasn't there. Not when I took these. I'm sure of it. I inquire at the local council about the Brown Tower. I'm aware, even as I'm speaking to them, that I must sound quite mad. Their tone, an overly hospitable air they probably use when people ring to complain about their bin collection, humouring me, shamed me into hanging up. I never learn who owns it. I try dropping it into conversations with people I meet over the next week. The few I ask all say it must have always been there. Always that phrase. Even Mark, who keeps asking, "How's the wife?" I don't know what he's referring to. I've taken to walking at night. Next to no streetlights, shops, houses, light up anymore. I've taken to walking at night. The darkness hides the overgrowth, and I'm less likely to bump into people. If you ask any of them, nothing's wrong, not even out of the ordinary. I can't stand to be near them, and so I'd rather be alone. In the air. At night. But in the dark, at night, I can feel it. Still growing. And that darkness, which hides the overgrowth from my sight, it envelops. It's so all-consuming that I'm increasingly feeling a part of it. Indistinguishable. So out comes the camera again. My eyes in the dark. By the river. Under the gaze of the tower. I get lost, following the river. I'm following the river and lose sight of the water. There's a fence. A lot of fence. A large fenced-off area. Inside it's dark. I'm convinced I could only find it, was only allowed to find it, because of the dark, because I'm in the dark, with the overgrowth, at night, alone. I find the fence again. In the day. I can see, so it's harder to find. My eyes keep leading me in other directions, away from what I seek. The fence. Not dark. Not now. I can see inside. Not far. There's boxes. Containers. Frames. Fences. 4 lines. 8 lines. 12. Hundreds. Cutting up. Cutting across. Protection. For. From. Exclusion. For. From. Shaping. Showing. Displaying. Hiding. Restraining. Containing. I call it the cage. I mention the cage to others. Mark, Lucy. They don't care, but they know it's there. They're aware, and they don't care. And I don't know if that's worse. I'm entering the cage. Tonight. It's nothing really. Just plants and trees. I went in, and I came out. No big secret. Fuss over nothing. Aren't these nice? These are some of my favourites. Finding a harmony with the edges, the borders. Taking images of places without edges. I think I'm going to head out and stay somewhere new for a few days. Maybe down south. The coast.